Welcome to section 8.7, Cost of Home Ownership. Objective 1, compute the monthly payment and interest costs for a mortgage. So a mortgage is a long-term installment loan for the purpose of buying a home and for which the property is pledged as security for payment. The term of the mortgage is the number of years until final payoff. The down payment is the portion of the sale price of the home that the buyer initially pays to the seller. The minimum required down payment is the computed as a percentage of the sales price. The amount of the mortgage is the difference between the sale price and the down payment. Monthly payments for a mortgage depend on the amount of the mortgage, which is the principal, the interest rate, and the duration of the mortgage. Fixed rate mortgages have the same monthly payment during the entire time of the loan, and variable rate mortgages or adjustable rate mortgages have payment amounts that change from time to time depending on changes in the interest rate. Although monthly payments for a mortgage depend on the amount of the mortgage, the duration of the loan, and the interest rate, the interest is not the only cost of a mortgage. Some lending institutions require the buyer to pay one or more points at the time of closing. A point is a one time charge that equals 1% of the amount of a mortgage loan. Lending institutions can require monthly deposits into an escrow account, an account used by the lender to pay real estate taxes and insurance. The loan payment formula for fixed installment loans can be used to determine the monthly payment for a mortgage. The regular payment amount, PMT, required to repay a loan of P dollars paid N times per year over T years at an annual rate R is given by this formula, PMT. Okay? So we are going to use this formula to determine the monthly payments for this loan amount, which is a fixed installment loan. Okay. So for our first example, the price of a home is $315,000. The mortgage was financed with a 30-year fixed rate at 4.5%. The total interest paid over 30 years was approximately 2,300, sorry, not 2,000, $233,460. The down payment on the loan was 10%. We need to use the loan payments formula for installment loans to find the monthly payment if the time of the mortgage is reduced to 15 years and then rounded to the nearest dollar. So the first thing that we need to do is determine the mortgage that we would be paying. Now, we know the price of the home, but we also know that we made a down payment of 10%. So we're not actually taking a loan amount for the 315,000 because we paid 10% already. So we first need to figure out the down payment, which is 10% of $315,000. Okay. And that is going to be 31,500. So our mortgage amount will be 315,000 minus 31,500, which equals $283,500. Okay, so that is going to be our P. That is our loan amount that we're going to take out. Okay, so P is going to be 283,500 R is going to be 4.5% or 0.045. T is going to be 15 years, and we make mortgage payments monthly. Okay. So PMT is going to be P times R over N divided by 1 minus 1 plus R over M raised to the negative NT. Substituting in my values for the variables. Okay, so I know my P, my R, and my N. And then I'll be able to enter this into my calculator to get my monthly payment. Okay, so let's do that. All right, alpha variable 283500 times 0.045 divided by 12. Let's bring that on the outside. There we go. Okay. And then 1 minus parentheses 1 plus fraction 0.045 divided by 12. I did it again. I gotta bring the parentheses on the outside. There we go. Exponent. Negative 12 times 15. Let's make sure it matches. And it does. Excellent. Okay. So our total rounded to the nearest dollar is going to be $2,169. That is going to be our monthly payment, mortgage payment. Now we want to find the total interest paid over 15 years. So our total interest, okay, we know we're paying $2,169 every month for 15 years, and the cost of the home was $315,000. Well, actually, the cost of the house was $315,000, but we actually want the cost of the loan that we took out. And the cost of the loan that we took out was $283,500. So when we subtract that, we will get then the total amount of interest that we paid on the loan. So 2,169 times 12 times 15 minus 283,500, and that is $106,920. That is the total interest that we paid on the loan. So now let's take a house that has a price of $220,000. The bank requires a 20% down payment and 3 points at the time of closing. The cost of the home is financed with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 4%. Okay, so let's first find the required down payment. So our down payment is 20%. So we need to take 0.2 of $220,000. That will get us $44,000. That is our down payment. So then the amount of the mortgage will be 200. Why did I write a 3? That's not a 2. There we go. $220,000 minus 44,000, which will equal $176,000. So that is the amount that we're going to take a loan out to pay for the house. So next we are going to now find the monthly payment excluding the escrow taxes and insurance. Okay. So we know P is 176,000. We know R is the 4%, which is 0.04. We know N is 12, and we are getting a 30-year mortgage. So our PMT is going to be 176,000 times 0.04 divided by 12. All of that divided by 1 minus 1 plus 0.04 divided by 12 raised to the negative 12 times 30. So we're going to enter these values into our calculator. Let's clear this. So alpha x 176,000. Ooh, I forgot to put a parentheses. So let's do that again. There we go. Now we'll put a parenthesis. There we go. Now it looks the same. 12. That's why it's always a good thing to write it out. So then you can make sure that what you're entering into your calculator matches what you have written out. It helps a lot. And then parentheses, exponent, negative 12 times 30. Then we can check to make sure everything matches, and it does. Okay, so our monthly payment is $840. So we now want to find the total cost of interest over 30 years. So we're paying $840 every month for 30 years. We're going to subtract that from our loan amount to get the total cost of interest that we paid. So 840 times 12 times 30 minus 176,000. All right, 126,400. That's a lot of money, but that's the amount that we're paying over 30 years. So not in just one year sitting, which is good. All right, Objective 2, prepare a partial loan amortization schedule. So when a mortgage loan is paid off through a series of regular payments, it's said to be amortized, which literally means killed off. Amortizing a mortgage loan is the process of making regular payments on the principal and interest until the loan is paid off. Although each payment is the same, with each successive payment, the interest portion decreases, and the portion applied toward paying off the principal increases. So a loan amortization schedule is a document showing the following information for each mortgage payment. It shows the payment number, it shows the interest paid from the payment, the amount of the payment applied to the principal, and the balance of the loan after the payment. Such a schedule shows how the buyer pays slightly less in interest and more in principal for each payment over the entire life of the loan. So we are going to prepare a loan amortization schedule for the first 2 months of the mortgage loan shown below. And we want to round the entries to the nearest cent. So for this loan, we have an annual percent rate of 5%. We have the amount of the mortgage, which is $200,000. The number of monthly payments is 240. The monthly payment is $1,319.91, and the term of our loan is 20 years. So we want to find the interest, principal, and loan balance for our first payment and our second payment. So let's first look at payment number 1. So we need to first find the interest. So the interest for the first month is going to be P times R times T, which equals 200,000, that's the principal, times your rate, which is 5%, times your T, 112, because the interest of just 1 month. So when we enter all of that into our calculator, so we have 200,000 times 0.05 times 112. So we have $833.33. Okay, so that's what our interest is. So we can fill that in our table. Now we want to find the principal. Okay. So our principal is going to be our monthly payment of $1,319.91 minus the interest that we would be paying for that month, because your loan payment that you make every month is part principal and part interest. So we'll subtract our interest and then plug that in our calculator. So 131991 minus 8333. Okay, $486.58. Okay, and then the balance of the loan, right, after the loan payment has been made for the first month, is going to be 200,000 minus $486.58. Okay, so that goes to the principal from the loan payment. So 200,000 minus 486.58. All right, so $199,513.42. So that is the loan balance. Okay, so we made a monthly payment of $1,319.91. That monthly payment includes part principal and part interest. So to find the loan balance that we would have for the following month, we would need to find the principal amount from that monthly payment and subtract it from the loan balance. We never subtract interest from the loan balance. The interest is the, you can say, penalty that we pay for having to take out the loan. So that goes to the bank. So let's find the interest for the second month. So we know I equals PRT. So RP is going to be the loan balance from month one, which is $199,513.42. Our rate is going to be 0.05 and then 12. Okay, so let's enter that into our calculator. Let's clear this. So 199,513.42 times 0.05 times 1 divided by 12. So that's going to be $831.31. Okay, we can add that to our table here. So now we want to find our principal. Okay. And our principal is going to be our loan payment that we make each month minus the interest. Because remember, our principal is part of our loan payment. Okay, grab the calculator. 131991 minus 831.31. $488.60. Okay. And then we want to find the loan balance. Oh boy, spell that backwards. So we'll take the loan balance that we started the month out with, and we'll subtract the principal to get our new loan balance for month 3. So 199,513.42 minus 488.6. All right, $199,024.82. So 199,024.82. So let's fill in the rest of our table. 199,024.82, and then our principal. Okay, 48860. Alrighty, nice. Okay. B. The cost of a home is financed with $120,000 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 4.5%. Prepare a loan amortization schedule for the first 3 months of the mortgage. Okay. So this one is very similar to the problem that we did before, except for the fact that we don't know what our monthly payment is. So we first need to find what our monthly mortgage payment is to determine what the interest, the principal, and the loan balance will be for months 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to find the PMT. So that's P times R over N divided by 1 minus 1 plus R over N to the negative NT. Okay. So we need our values. So P is $120,000. R is 4.5%, which is 0.045. T is 30 and N is 12. So this will be $120,000 times 0.045 divided by 12. We have 1 minus 1 plus 0.045 divided by 12 to the negative 12 times 30. Okay, so let's enter that into our calculator. I'm going to clear this. So we have 12. Okay, parentheses, fraction divided by 12. We go to the denominator. Fraction and then negative 12 times 30. All right, $608 because we want to round to the nearest dollar for this one. Okay, well, it says round entries to the nearest cent. So I guess we can round to the nearest cent for this one. So that's $608.02. Okay, so that's our monthly mortgage payment. Okay, so that's what we're going to use as we start our problem. Alrighty, so let's now find our interest, principal, and loan balance for the first 3 months. Alright, so now let's find our values. So first we'll find our interest. So let's do I equals PRT. So that's 120,000 times 0.045 times 1 over 12. When we enter that in our calculator, we'll get 450. Then we'll find our principal. So that'll be the $608. And what was our cents? 2 cents. Minus 450. Okay, let's clear this. So we did the 12,000 times 0.045 times 1 divided by 12. And then we'll take our 608 and 2 cents minus 450, which is $158.02. And then we will find our balance on the loan, which will be our principal minus our, well, not principal, I shouldn't say that. we'll take the loan amount minus our principal. There we go. Okay, so we'll grab our calculator. Loan amount minus our principal. Okay, so we have $119. Why do I say that? $119,841.98. All right. I'm gonna make sure I wrote that down right. Yep, 98 cents. Great. So that's the first month. Then we repeat for month 2 and we repeat for month 3. So I want you to pause and attempt number 2 and number 3 and then come back. Alrighty, so these are the values that you should have gotten for month 2 and month 3. Okay, so we can complete our table by entering in these values into our table right here. All right, objective 4. Solve problems involving what you can afford to spend for a mortgage. So here are the guidelines from most financial advisors. Spend no more than 28% of your gross monthly income for your mortgage payment. Spend no more than 36% of your gross monthly income for your total monthly debt, including mortgage payments, car payments, credit card bills, student loans, and medical debt. Home ownership provides significant tax advantages, including deduction of mortgage interest and property taxes. Renting does not provide tax benefits, although renters do not pay property taxes. Okay, so we are going to apply these guidelines to determine the maximum amount we would want to spend each month on a mortgage payment based off of gross income. So in our first example here, suppose that your gross annual income is $240,000. What is the maximum amount you should spend each month on a mortgage payment? So first, we know this is our annual. We want to find our monthly gross income. So to find the monthly gross income, we will take our annual income and divide it by 12. Which equals $20,000. It's pretty nice. So the max amount we would want to spend each month on a mortgage payment from the advice of financial advisors is 28%. So we want 28% of 20,000, or in other words, 0.28 of 20,000. When we enter that into our calculator, we should get 5,600. So that means our mortgage payment should not exceed $5,600. Now, what is the maximum amount you should spend each month for total credit obligations? So according to financial advisors, we shouldn't spend more than 36%. Okay, so 36% of our monthly gross income should go to, no more than 36% should go to credit obligations. So that would be 0.36 of $20,000. So if we plug that in our calculator, that's 7,200. So our mortgage payment should not exceed 5,600, and our total credit obligation should not exceed 7,200. Now, if your monthly mortgage payment is 90% of the maximum amount you can afford, what is the maximum amount you should spend each month for all other debt? Okay. Well, if we know that the maximum amount we should spend each month for total credit obligations is 7,200, then we know that that's the threshold, that's the limit. Now we know that our mortgage payment is 90% of the maximum amount for mortgage payments. So 90% of 5,600 will be what we would subtract from 7,200 to get the total amount that we could use for other credit obligations. Okay, so when we enter that in our calculator, we'll get $2,160. So that is the total amount that we can use on other credit obligations, but it should not exceed this amount. Okay. All right. Why don't you pause and attempt these problems? They're set up very similarly to the one we just walked through. All right. So suppose that your gross income is $36,000. What is the maximum amount you should spend each month on a mortgage payment? Well, you would have to take your gross annual income and divide it by 12 to get your monthly gross income, which would be $3,000. Then you would need to take 28% of that $3,000, which would get you $840 for the maximum amount you can spend each month on a mortgage payment. Now, what is the maximum amount you should spend each month for total credit obligation? So that includes your mortgage payment. So that shouldn't exceed 36% of your gross annual income, your monthly gross income. So we want to take now 36% of 3,000, which would get us $1,080. And then lastly, if your monthly mortgage payment is 70% of the maximum amount you can afford, what is the maximum amount you should spend each month for all your other debt? So we know that the total credit obligation we found in the previous problem is $1,080. That's the total amount that we can give towards credit. So if our mortgage payment is actually 70% of the maximum amount, we would be taking 70% of the $840, finding that value and subtracting it from the $1,080 to get $492. So that is the maximum amount we would spend each month for all other debt that we have. All right, objective 5, understand the pros and cons of renting versus buying. So the rent or buy decision can be highly complex and is often based on lifestyle rather than finances. Aside from a changing economic climate, there are many factors to consider. Now, the benefits of renting are that there's no down payment or points are required, so you generally just have a security deposit that is returned at the end of your lease. It's very mobile, meaning you can easily relocate, moving as often as you like or as your lease permits. It does not tie up hundreds of thousands of dollars that might be invested more safely and lucratively elsewhere. Most financial advisors agree that you should buy a home because you want to live in it, not because you want to fund your retirement. Other benefits are it does not clutter what you can afford for your total monthly debt with mortgage payments. It may involve lowering monthly expenses. You pay rent, whereas a homeowner pays the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, and the upkeep of the house. It can provide amenities like swimming pools, tennis courts, and health clubs. It avoids the risk of falling house prices. It does not require home repair, maintenance, and groundskeeping. There are no property taxes and generally less costly than buying a home when staying in it for fewer than 3 years. Now, the benefits of home ownership. You have peace of mind and stability, knowing you're in your home and it's yours. It provides significant tax advantages, including deduction of mortgage interest and property taxes when you itemize deductions. There's no chance of rent increasing over time. All right, you have a set mortgage payment that you pay every month. It allows for freedom to remodel, landscape, and redecorate. You can build up equity, the difference between the home's value and what you owe on the mortgage as the mortgage is paid off. So equity increases as you make more mortgage payments. So the possibility of a home appreciation is a potential source of cash in the form of home equity loans. So when looking at 7-year timeframes, the total cost of renting, which is the monthly rent, renter's insurance, loss of potential interest on a security deposit, is more than twice the total cost of buying for homeowners who itemize their tax deduction. All right, and so that's the benefits of home ownership. And that concludes section 8.7.